Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I want to highlight keeping your options open and then narrowing them down as the game progresses and you see what your opponent is getting into. I'm up against Nick, who is a 2k MMR player, so there is a 200 MMR gap here, but I still thought that it was a very informative video, and yeah, I thought that for that reason it was worth showcasing. Now, having a look at my packs, I have a lot of aggro packs available there, with 2 steel ball packs and a spider pack as well. I'll end up going for the steel ball pack with crawlers here because, well, I think steel ball crawler is a nice aggro opener. And, well, I mean, all my packs honestly were very good. So I could have picked any of them, but I end up going for this one. Opponent has a Stormcaller Arclight opener, so that's quite good for me. And is a supply specialist. I'll probably end up going for hounds here. That's what I tend to do when I go for steel ball openers with crawlers. Just because I think hounds have a little bit of a better ability to scale for aggro boards because they're faster, they chaff clear faster than Arclights if you manage to get the crucial levels. And that's why I tend to just prefer them. My initial idea here though was to play some Wraith Ball. That was what I wanted to go for. Of course I'll need the hounds here on round 1, but I wanted to try and get into a Wraith setup if I could, because it looked like a decent matchup for me into Stormcallers, Arclights, and Crawlers, and I think Wraith Ball can be quite good unless the opponent has some very early like Marksman or Phoenixes. And so here we go, Stormcallers here on the inside. I immediately notice as well that the Crawlers are vertical behind the towers, which means that I can't pull them in their entirety if I decide to put something on the flank. And that's already giving me some ideas for what I want to do on round 2. Steel balls here will lock onto the Arclight though, and as we're pushing into the tower, looks like we will be getting a debuff, and hopefully that'll be enough to secure round number 1. Kind of expected. Again, I have a good matchup. If the opponent had sledgehammers, maybe this would be a little bit more tricky, but we get to the tower no problem. And so we managed to leverage our aggressive positioning here. Just got to clean up the remaining Stormcallers and then that'll be it. Round 1 over. And keep in mind, opponent has very low hit points. 3500 HP start. That's amongst the lowest hit point starters. Maybe only trumped by something like Sledgehammer Crawler. Now round number 2, redeployment shows up and shield airdrop. I think redeployment is very good for aggro, but the shield airdrop can be super useful too. And because I see this crawler here, I'm thinking maybe I can put a hound on the flank and put the shield on the flank as well, which would create some trouble for my opponent. Like, that's annoying to deal with. And so I felt like doing the shield airdrop instead. I didn't really need to redeploy anything this round either, so that's why I end up going for this one. Now, opponent immediately goes for a Phoenix. I am just using this for chaff. I mean, I know that I get my marksman, so I don't really need to grab an air unit just yet. And I was planning to go Wraith on round 3. But yeah, here we're just going crawlers. So double crawlers, one here on the right to protect this steel ball pack, and then the hound on the flank. And the one crawler all the way in the back, of course. Left side is fully open, but I'm taking a bit of a risk here. Thinking that my opponent won't be going for an aggressive play. He could have gone for a Phoenix on my tower though with the redeploy, and actually goes for double Phoenix and just redeploys an Arclight to the right side. And yeah, you can see hounds have spawned in. Phoenixes are still stuck on that shield. And that's working out really well, because without the crawlers going in, the steel balls have a much easier time getting to the tower. We managed to get a good debuff. The thing is though, I wanted to play some Wraith Ball, but seeing my opponent buy double Phoenix on round 2, I immediately kind of scrapped that whole idea, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna try and make Wraith work if my opponent already has double Phoenixes on the board. That seems a little reckless, and I have other options available still. So maybe I'll just go back to trying to make Hound work. On round 3 though, we get unit reinforcements. Now Quad Fang is an insane pack. Having 4 chaff deployments is really, really good, and I understand that my opponent picks it. But I'm thinking, well, I do lack some chaff clear here. I haven't really invested into hounds too much just yet. Maybe we can make this Fire Badger work and kind of pair it up with something like a Phoenix and then go from there. So that's the next idea. We get a nice unit drop. Hounds could still work if we want to, but level 3 Fire Badger looks good to me. It's a nice pairing with Phoenix, and so we're just going to try and kind of test that idea instead. So we get a Crawler, a Phoenix, pushing onto the left tower now, since that's been abandoned somewhat. Opponent goes for a Steel Ball in front of the shield. I like that a lot. I think it's probably the cheapest way to deal with this shield, because it's very hard to get rid of 50,000 hit points this early on and do it efficiently. So I think that is a good response. And yeah, lots and lots of chaff now, so I'll have to really hammer down on the chaff clear department on my end, because otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. Arc lights now have already been ranged, and I do have a decent amount of chaff. I mean, you can already see me working on lots and lots of crawlers. And so we've got a couple ideas going now, right? We got the Fire Badger. We're working on the crawlers. I can see my opponent now investing into arc lights a bunch for chaff clear, and that immediately tells me, okay, that means loose formation crawler becomes really valuable down the line. Not for next turn, probably somewhere in the mid game, right? Like round 6, round 7, I can click it. But that's another idea that I have, and I'm kind of just letting it sit there for, well, I have one, plenty of crawlers on the board, and 2, I have some spare money because it's not the cheapest of techs. We also still have to build on our chaff clear a bit. We might want some more phoenixes. But for now, things are going quite well. And round number 4, bunch of great items here offered. Improved firepower, portable shield. I have to pick the portable shield here, I feel. Even though improved is a fine pickup as well. It just felt like going for port shield on a board that has Fire Badgers. If I need to sell it, I have a leveled Steel Ball too. It's just such a good item. Opponent, though, goes for efficient giant manufacturing and now purchases and unlocks a fortress. And so once I see this, immediately I start thinking again, okay, well, I was planning to go for Fire Badgers a bunch, but maybe with Fortress showing up this early, that's gonna be a problem. Also, going more into Phoenixes might be a problem, because Forte A is very cheap and a great way to deal with early unleveled Phoenixes. I do buy another one, of course, because I hadn't seen this yet, but immediately that starts me thinking again, alright, well, the Wraith plan didn't work, we went for Fire Badger, now we're into Fire Badger and Phoenix, and my opponent buys a Fortress. Maybe that's not gonna work either. So what do we want to do? I can go back into Hounds. That's honestly still an option. I mean, I do have 3 of them. I could buy 3 more at some point, range them, and that might be a little bit more resilient than something like the Fire Badgers, because right now I only have the 1 pack. I don't need to invest into them. They're pretty useful as is, but nothing is forcing me to buy more of them. And then if I do go more Hound, what do I want to go for DPS? Because Phoenixes are a little bit sketchy. So I've got 2 options really, right? It's either going to be Melters, which are a little expensive, or I could try to go for more Steel Balls at some point. And so that's kind of the next idea that I'm going for. Trying to get out of Phoenixes, or at least not invest into them too much, and start investing more into Steel Balls. Because Steel Balls are quite good into Fortress, as long as your opponent doesn't run the Rocket Punch, which my opponent doesn't, so I felt like that was a decent idea to go with. And you will see, actually, Fortress here barely survives, and I start taking my first damage. Things are starting to look decent for my opponent. Now, round number 5, we get efficient light manufacturing, and usually on round 4 I will pick this up if I know I'm going to go small units, but again, we have this idea of buying more Hounds, buying more Steel Balls, and I'm pretty healthy, so I think I'm gonna be able to make use of this card, and I pick it up. Now, opponent goes for 2 more fortresses. It's efficient light manufacturing versus efficient giant at this point. And we also have subsidized Mustang as a card pickup from our opponent. Now, first things first, I want chaff clear. I decided to sell out of my badger, because it's kind of just feeding into this fortress, and I had a good other target for that portable shield, like I said. Now, putting it onto the steel balls, and kind of making sure that my right side is going to be able to push in, right? We grab the levels on the steel balls, we transfer the item, we go range on the hounds, and we buy a whole bunch more level 2 hounds. Shield looks like it's going to go onto the right side here, kind of trying to protect this crawler pack from the arc, and also allowing my hounds to spawn in on the shallow flank. And now let's have a look, how does this go? Left side is leveled, will lose of course, I mean, I can't really contest these units, but if I can slow them down then I'm pretty happy. It looks like there's a crawler on my flank as well, which will go for my tower, but in the meantime we've already managed to punch through. And as you can see, steel balls are locking on to the fortresses. We've managed to dispatch of the 2 new ones that were added. And while our tower will fall at some point, I mean, look at the onslaught of units that we have, right? Whole bunch of steel balls still alive. Tower will eventually fall, but we've got plenty of hounds, some crawlers, and also my level 3 marksman. And I feel like here we might have a better chance of finishing things, which will be the case. Fortress does go down. A couple of crawlers on my tower, so I will lose that as well, but we managed to win the setup round, because what we didn't do is buy more steel balls, but at least we managed to set up our chaff clear much better. Now, round number 6, we get more unit reinforcements, and here, Raiden shows up. Now, if there wasn't a unit drop, what I would have done is triple recruit balls and go for range. But because of the unit drop, and because I see Raiden, I'm thinking, well, it's really logical for my opponent to pick up the Raiden since it's decent into hounds and it's good into steel balls, and right now that's the main things I have on my board. So instead I go, alright, well, melting point is offered, let's change plans again, not go for steel balls and just go for hound with melter. I still have the steel balls, of course, to kind of well, work as a front line, but now I've made my choice that alright, the melter just seems like the safer option. It doesn't have the same issue into Raiden that the steel balls would have, so let's go for that instead. Opponent also triple recruits Blue Mustang here, making use of their efficient light manufacturing. I'm guessing that that's, well, it's always nice to have some additional spot damage from Mustang. They tend to do well in most late games anyway. But that might also be a preemptive, like, response into a potential Raiden pickup for myself. Although I wouldn't pick it into Fortress. Melter has been added onto the left side as well here. There is a crawler on my flank, which by the looks of it, I didn't deal with at all, which is kind of surprising. I think I might not have noticed that there was a crawler there. But we do manage to get a quick lock on. Maybe if we can get to the tower quick enough, this melter will be able to chaff clear the crawlers. Crawlers are still kind of stuck, so honestly ignoring it didn't seem like the worst idea. We do get the debuff. Meanwhile, on the right side, Melter has managed to get some good locks. We get another debuff. And actually, the Melter does kill all the crawlers in the end, so not dealing with the flank there kind of worked out just fine from the looks of it. And that's not quite going to be game, but we're getting close now. Round number 7. Immediately eyes are drawn to the Ion Blast, and yeah, both of us pick it up. Very powerful spell. I would say here a spell that favors the aggro player, me, more. It's one of those spells that almost always tends to be better for the aggressive player, because often the aggressive board will be moving a lot, they'll be faster units, so they're harder to hit, whereas the defending player tends to kind of stay still and not move too much, so it's easier to line this up. I sell my Hound on the flank. Reason for that is I wanted these units to not get stalled and instead run into the Ion Beam. And we buy more Hounds and we give them Mech Rage as well. I didn't feel like I needed to buy more Melters here. I felt like 2 currently was enough. Maybe I need a third one if somehow we don't win. But I really wanted to prioritize the Hounds to chaff clear faster. Opponent here goes for Charge Shot. on the arc lights to get rid of the hounds, I'm guessing. Which is not a bad move. I don't hate it. I think when you've got Mustangs to chaff clear, going for charge shot arclight is not a bad idea. Also, the Mustangs kind of prevent me from going loose formation. So that idea that we had is something that we can't deal with now. I do put this hound on the flank this time around. And here we go. More fortresses show up. Range on the fortresses as well. And a bunch of last-minute shields from my opponent. And here we go. Ion Beam is hitting very nicely, although it's hitting some of my units as well. But as you can see, missing almost all of my hounds as they run forward with the Mech Rage. And we immediately managed to get to the tower. The Raiden is gone as well. Left side, the fortress completely crumbling. And as we manage to lock onto the final fortress, that should just be a quick win here on the offense. And yeah, lots of pivots happening here. I thought it was an interesting game because we went into the game with the idea of playing Ball Wraith. We then saw the early Phoenix commitment, so we decided, alright, let's not do that. We went off the unit drop, trying out the Badger, which worked fine, but then we saw Fortress show up, which also happened to be a potential counter to Phoenix if we invested into that too much. So we had to pivot again, and we just go back into the Hounds that we had as the more solid option. We then want to go into Steel Balls to deal with the Fortresses because we see that there's no Rocket Punch, but an early unit drop on round 6 gives the opponent a Raiden, and gives us a Melter instead to play. And that's kind of how you can go through these games. You can have a plan going in, but you need to see what your opponent is doing. And if you see that they're already building something that's countering what you wanted to do, then you might have to switch and pivot. And in this game, we had lots of options, and we just kind of end up going back to, well, the chaff clear unit that we had at first, which is the Hound. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments if you found this helpful. And then if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.